Hello and welcome to this edition of Behind the Story with Business Today. This time we'll talk about a special package that we call India's Hottest Young Executives. This is something that we started in the year 2002 and we have done it 8 times since then. This is the 9th, of course. And essentially our idea behind doing this listing is to identify young executives, professionals who are less than 40 years of age and are doing extremely well, and who we predict will do even better, in the near future. So this is an extremely exciting list, and one that we know that you all look forward to reading. And this particular package is anchored and curated by my colleague, senior editor Shamni Pande, and we'll just have a chat with her and try and understand what went into the listing and what we found. Shamni, maybe you can just walk us through the process, and I believe there have been some changes this year in terms of making it more robust, right? Yes. So why don't you take our readers through it briefly?
So thanks Alokesh, and since we are approaching almost a decade of this exercise of curating talent, which is 40 years and below, we decided to add an interesting element. Normally what we do is we have a panel, knowledge partners, where we invite some of the top executive search firms, and they put out a list of people that are being really sought after, because their job is to check on talent, find out people. So right. that's their the raison d'etre. So they help us with that list. Then we create a master list, and we get them to debate why somebody qualifies to be on this list. Right. Of Business Today's India's Hottest Young Executive. And we then come out with a list of about 20-25 names. This time, since we're approaching a decade, we thought we will add some more rigor to this exercise, and we decided to bring in a jury panel. And interestingly enough, we had Dr. Santrup Mishra of Aditya Birla Group, who has featured on our first listing of Hottest Young Executives. Wow. So that was the very interesting element. We thought he's not just a HR expert, he's a CEO of Carbon Black, and he's featured on our list, so it would make a
he will be well acquainted with the process
well. Acquainted with the process, and he knows the talent space very well, and the demands of the industry. So he was on our panel. Mr. Ramkumar of ICICI Bank, agreed to be on our panel. He, again, someone who is extremely familiar with the talent space and the demands for the industry. And we have Mr. Vivek Paranjpe, who is a veteran HR consultant with Reliance, and so he also agreed to be on our list. And they brought in a lot of rigor to this exercise. It was fascinating to...
What was the jury meeting like?
Oh, it was very interesting, because normally people, we tend to, it gets a quite heated debate on why somebody requires to be on the list, why doesn't somebody merit to be on the list. We come in with our own set of rules and all of that and observations. But this time the jury brought in a different kind of rigor. At every step we found that they were questioning us as to is this person really very core to the organization's need, or not. For instance, when it comes to banking, and if you're considering somebody in the digital space, or you're considering somebody in the IT department, so that's really not very core to a banking need. So we had those kind of arguments. Then there were also things like, are we really getting biased in favor of FMCG? Why do we really need to have so many people in this industry segment? Why manufacturing and infrastructure, how it needed a good representation. So that kind of balancing act happened quite a bit. So it was quite interesting to be part of this.
Yeah, that's very exciting. Actually, the jury always brings in a huge amount of experience and expertise onto the table. And we, of course, have jury meetings for several of our surveys, but more on that when those surveys happen. And so, Shamni, you mentioned Santrup Mishra and the fact that he was on our first list. Why don't you tell our readers about some of the other really big names who were in our list before they became big names?
So, this is a matter of great pride and joy for Business Today, that some of the names that we've been profiling in the past have gone on to become really big hitters when it comes to making a mark in their space. So we've had, of course, the prime example is Dr. Santrup Mishra himself, and Then you have people like Samir Suneja, who featured in the past as a CEO, and then he went on to take the international charge for Perfetti. You have Gopal Vittal, who we identified when he was in HUL, and then he's gone on to head
Now he's the CEO of Airtel.
Bharti Airtel, yes. Then you have people like, and not just that, you look at FMCG, we had Saugata Gupta when he was just heading a division for Marico, and
Right.
he's gone on to become the managing director for the
Right.
organization.
And I believe Mr. Vineet Nair was also on one of our initiatives.
Yeah, this was way
of
back in the
HCL.
past, yes. So we've got an interesting mix today. If you look at the last 5 years, there are people who've sort of almost taken a shift, or one could say, not gone. Like we had Madhu Kannan, who was MD and CEO of BSE India, and he has gone on to take on a strategic role within the Tata Group for
Right.
business strategy. And you have Leena Nair, who stayed within the system, and she's now plays a global role. She was identified
Yeah, in
as
Unilever now she plays a global role in the HR. of
exactly.
Unilever.
But you also have some of the younger people in the last 5 years who you see the kind of choices they are making, and it's really interesting. We had Rajiv Mehta, who was 27 something at Puma, heading Puma, and he sort of, it was a startup which he
In India.
he built in India, and now he's quit as within a year of us identifying him. He's quit Puma and he's gone on to the Aditya Birla Group
Right.
to head one of their lifestyle sports segment. And you have a reverse case where you had Vidya Srinivasan, who was with the Aditya Birla Group, and she's moved to Puma as the CFO.
Okay, not
So a
bad.
lot of those interesting changes that are
Yeah.
brewing in our list. And this is really, it's undeniable, the fact that organizations really need talent in that critical space, 30
Right.
plus, 30, 35 years and above, where
Right,
they are
right.
just the time we're peaking for
Yeah.
leadership.
And like you've mentioned in your story, the Tata Group, one of the oldest business groups, the biggest possibly business group in the country, is inducting a lot of young, fresh blood in its top management space
Yes.
in various companies. Who are on this year's list? That you'll have to find out. Just buy the magazine and watch out for the names there. And you can be sure that some of them are going to be really big names in the future. Thanks a lot.